Good evening, you're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Farhana Sheikh. Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim has voiced doubt about the bloodbath in Gaza amid Israel's relentless air and ground attacks. In the presence of US President Joe Biden and other world leaders, the Prime Minister said the sufferings inflicted on the Palestinians demonstrated an abandonment of moral responsibilities.
He said the war had allowed for massive destructions and caused climate calamity, adding that it would only lead to future regional and global instability. Anwar has been highlighting the humanitarian crisis in Palestine in various occasions since his arrival in the United States for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation APEC. Earlier this week, during a special lecture at the University of California, he had slammed Israel for blatant violations of international law. While during the recent Organization of Islamic Cooperation (OIC) Extraordinary Summit in Riyadh, Anwar also called on member countries to assertively demand for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza.
Communication systems in the Gaza Strip were down for a second day with no fuel to power the internet and phone networks. Due to the blackout, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees said no aid deliveries would be able to enter southern Gaza on Friday. It warned that people there would soon face starvation with winter fast approaching. Meanwhile, Israel said its troops have found the body of a second woman held hostage by Hamas during a search close to the Al-Shifa hospital. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also said that efforts to prevent Palestinian civilian casualties had been unsuccessful. He claimed this was because Hamas had prevented people from moving to safer places. In San Francisco, pro-Palestinian protesters demanding a ceasefire in Gaza blocked traffic on the Oakland Bay Bridge for hours during the Thursday morning commute. 80 people were arrested and over a dozen vehicles used to block the lanes were towed. Video shows protesters blocking the key commuter route into the city where the APEC 2023 summit is ongoing. They demanded that President Joe Biden and other world leaders call for an immediate ceasefire in the war. 29 vehicles were towed after demonstrators blocked all lanes on the upper deck, with some drivers tossing their keys into the bay. Meanwhile, in South Korea, dozens of activists have called for a ceasefire in Gaza by placing 2,000 pairs of shoes in downtown Seoul. The shoes symbolized Palestinian civilians killed in the war. Gaza health authorities deemed reliable by the United Nations say at least 11,500 people have been confirmed killed in Israeli bombardment and ground invasion, more than 4,700 of them children. Dewan Negara Speaker Tan Sri Wan Junaidi Tunku Jaafar said appropriate action concerning the anti-party hopping bill can be taken within the political party itself. He said parties can establish a list of offences that can automatically disqualify a person's party membership for violating the specified conditions. Wan Junaidi stressed that the present anti-party hopping bill is in line with the country's interests, adding that any proposed amendments will only be made if there are identified loopholes. This is because it would involve a lengthy process and require the approval of a two-third majority in the Dewan Rakyat. Wan Junaidi's statement came amid calls by certain quarters for the bill to be reviewed, following a recent wave of defections from Bersatu MPs. The anti-party hopping bill came into force on October 5, 2022. It stipulates that MPs and state assemblymen will lose their seats if they switch parties or become independents after they were elected. Though there is no clause that says those who declare their support for a rival faction will automatically lose their seats as well. Malaysia is on track to achieve its GDP growth target of between 4 to 5% this year. Bank Negara Malaysia Governor Dato' Sheikh Abdul Rashid Ghaffar says the forecast comes after the economy grew by 3.3% in the third quarter of 2023, an improvement from the previous quarter's 2.9%.
The key factors driving growth are, first, better employment and income prospects, which will help strengthen domestic demand. Second, the realization and progress of multi-year projects. Third, improvement in the global tech cycle, which is expected to lead to higher trade activities. And fourth, continued increase in tourist arrivals, which will spur growth in tourism-related sectors.
Meanwhile, the Employees Provident Fund EPF reported a 33% year-on-year increase in total investment income to 47.86 billion ringgit for the 9 months to September 30th, 2023, while total investment income rose to 14.67 billion ringgit in the third quarter of the year, a 19.34% jump from the same period in 2022. In the third quarter, equity investments remained the major contributor to the pension fund, accounting for 63% of the total investment income, or 9.17 billion ringgit after net write-downs. Meanwhile, fixed income instruments contributed 32%, or 4.76 billion ringgit, to EPF's total investment income in the third quarter. EPF CEO Datuk Sri Amir Hamzah Azizan said global equities made a negative turn in the third quarter after strong gains in the first half, with expectations the Gaza-Israel war and Russia-Ukraine conflict will contribute to uncertainty and market volatility. Market sentiments, he said, also underwent various shifts, influenced by concerns such as the health of China's economy, rising energy prices, and rising government bond yields, all against the backdrop of the potential for an extended period of high interest rates. The Transport Ministry is considering introducing incentives to overcome the high cost of flight tickets during festive seasons. Deputy Transport Minister Dato' Hasbi Habibullah said this would help lessen the burden of rakyat, especially those who live in Sabah and Sarawak who regularly commute to Peninsula. Hasbi said one of the reasons airfares is high is due to the foreign exchange, which affects jet fuel prices.
Bagaimana nak menimbang perkara ini, insya-Allah kita akan seperti apa yang kita buat terutamanya musim perayaan dan sebagainya, ya. Mungkin kita akan memberikan mungkin ada insentif-insentif yang dapat disediakan semasa hari musim-musim perayaan lah untuk menangani masalah-masalah yang beyond our control lah.
He added that the Fly Siswa initiative will also be continued next year to assist students to return home, involving nearly 60,000 students from underprivileged families, especially from Sabah, Sarawak and Labuan. We will go for a quick break. Stay tuned for more.
Persembahan semakin luar biasa. Dominasi peserta lelaki. Dapatkah peserta wanita kembali memikat?
Garantilah.
Beli tiket konsert akhir All Stars Gegavaganza di laman web tickettu.com.my. All Stars Gegavaganza di Astro Ria dan Astro Go.
PM mengumumkan yuran pendaftaran Universiti Awam dihadkan tak lebih daripada RM1,500.
Kes kemasukan ke hospital meningkat 2 kali ganda akibat jerebu.
Dan difahamkan sekurang-kurangnya 8 wartawan terbunuh dan 2 lagi hilang dalam serangan udara Israel ke atas Gaza.
Welcome back. About 250 Rohingya refugees in an overcrowded wooden boat have been turned away from Western Indonesia and sent back to sea. Local media report that the group had arrived off the coast of Aceh province on Thursday, but angry locals told them not to land the boat. This was the third boat to land in Indonesia in 3 days. 2 of the boats, the first with 146 refugees and the second with 194, were able to land on beaches on Aceh's east coast on Tuesday and Wednesday, with refugees reportedly spent a month at sea. But the third boat was met with resistance from locals who refused to allow it to land and pushed the vessel back out to sea. When the boat tried to land a second time a little further south, locals again forced them back to the boat and out to sea late Thursday. Several hundred Rohingya arrived in Aceh earlier this year, and massive numbers have died at sea from disease, hunger and fatigue. TikTok said it is pulling down videos promoting Osama bin Laden's 2002 letter detailing his justifications for attacks against Americans. The former Al-Qaeda leader's letter has been circulating on the platform this week in the context of the debate over the Israel-Hamas war, with some users in the West praising its content. Bin Laden's letter to America was written after Al-Qaeda's attack on the United States on September 11, 2001, which killed nearly 3,000 people. Among other things, it criticized U.S. support for Israel, accused Americans of financing the oppression of Palestinians, and contained anti-Semitic remarks. TikTok said content of the letter clearly violated the platform's rules on supporting terrorism. TikTok also removed the hashtag letter to America on its search function. Bin Laden was killed in Pakistan in 2011 by a U.S. military special forces team. Over in South Korea, prosecutors are seeking a 5-year jail term for Samsung Electronics chairman Lee Jae-yong over charges of accounting fraud and stock manipulation involving the controversial merger of two Samsung companies in 2015.
Prosecutors allege that Lee and two other Samsung executives inflated the stock price of Cheil Industries and devalued Samsung C&T during the two companies' merger in order to help cement his control of Samsung Electronics. Lee, who was vice chairman of Samsung Electronics in 2015, has denied any wrongdoing. The trial lasted for 3 years and a ruling is expected to be made in the coming months. The trial is the last legal uncertainty for Lee, who had been pardoned for an earlier separate conviction.
Over 1,000 cases of child marriage are officially recorded in Malaysia each year. But what do we know about the data beyond these numbers? Azira Aziz from Pelajar Bukan Pengantin sheds light on the need for more comprehensive information on this practice.
You need the breakdown according to age, gender, what was the circumstances prior to the marriage, because there are situations where actually child marriage is a solution towards preventing a child from being liable for a criminal offense, because child-on-child relationships. So the data we need cannot be in isolation of one another. It has to be more comprehensive.
Meanwhile, Zoe Gunn from UNICEF highlighted the role of social workers in educating and supporting parents.
Social workers are a key resource for parents, and in Malaysia we have a fantastic social worker workforce. We just don't have enough social workers, so that's one key area: social workers and parenting training on positive parenting skills are critical to kind of build the capacity of parents to make decisions in the best interest of the child, not to marry them when the child gets into trouble or has a problem, and B, to teach their child or educate their child on ways of preventing themselves from getting into a situation where child marriage may be what may be deemed as their only option. I feel that everything can't be loaded on parents, but they are kind of the first layer of protection that a child has, and what we give to the parents as support is critical.
Catch the full conversation on It's About Youth every Friday at 10:30 p.m. only on Astro AWANI.
That wraps up AWANI tonight. I'm Farhana Sheikh. Thank you for watching.